greetings from the apocalypse. So you'll remember from our video yesterday, we're doing a hammer down setting. So we got Alexis's stone positioned in the bezel at the right height, and then we just sort of press the bezel around it. So now we're ready to go into the next stage, which is using the hammer down tool. And that's what's gonna give us that like beautiful widened edge at the top. So I'll show you what we did.
Okay, so you're almost there. You can see there's just like, a little spot right here, a little spot right here that still needs to go up against the stone. So go just do a little bit more. Okay, so you've got it now all pretty much right up against the stone. And like you were saying before, you could really leave it that way if that was what you were going for. But that's like the first step. So I made Alexis a custom version of the hammer down tool, which is going to be in our upcoming set. But they're out getting their prototypes made, so I made another one. And here it is, which just has a little curve on the inside to give a little clearance room, for the stone to be there.
Do you need anything from that side?
No, I'm good, thank you. And a nice flat surface, and not too high of a shine, because if you make the end very, very shiny, you'll just slide around more. Okay, so I am going to use a leather mallet for this. You can use a chasing hammer when you're gonna do this kind of thing, but that noise of the metal on metal makes me insane. And I'm already crazy enough, so I try to keep that to a minimum. So if you haven't done this kind of stuff before, there's sort of a specific hand position that you're going to want to use. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to hold the tool in my left hand, and I'm going to position the tool sort of like in the middle of my pinky. You see that? Mm-hmm. Because then when I move the tool just stays stationary. My whole hand can move. And that way I can rest my pinky on my flat surface here and move everything around without needing to use my fingers separately, which when you're not left-handed, it's really hard to, maneuver this too much. So this way it's very simple. And anytime I move this, I just move my whole hand, okay? Because then my right hand is just gonna be to tap the top. So I'm going to start right here. And like most things, it's better to do it gradually than to try to hit very hard at once. Okay? And so I've just begun. Where are you? There you are, sorry. And what is going to happen is this whole bezel will be gradually forced down the stone, which will cause it to bulge out on the side. And although bulge is not normally associated with a lovely shape, it actually is a very lovely shape, and that's part of what makes the hammer down the hammer down. Now, so normally what I want to do, just like if you're trying to get something level, I don't want to do a whole bunch over here and then try to get the other side to match. I'm going to go around the whole piece, taking the whole thing down, and you're going to have to keep checking it from the side, because it's very hard to truly hit something with the same amount of force each time. So you kind of want to gradually work your way around and then keep checking from the side, because you'll be able to see, if you're getting this to go down level or if you've got some real distinct waves, which is not what you would want. So I'm going to start it over here. Tap, tap, tap. And you see how you can just kind of slide the tool around? That's why this hand maneuver is really important. Being able to use your left hand like this to hold the tool. And usually the best way to try to regulate your hammer blows with anything you're hammering is to listen to it. That's really a much more accurate judge of how hard you're hitting, is by listening to the sound that it makes. So if you take a look at this from the top, now we're not done yet, but you see how it's starting to happen. it's starting to spread out and get a thicker frame basically around the stone. So most of the time when people are looking for this, where they're like, oh, should I use a thicker bezel? And I'm like, you know, you can use a thicker bezel, but normally this effect is created by how much you hammer the bezel down the stone, not just by like using a thicker gauge of sheet. Because normally this is what, just 26 gauge? This is done so far, which it looks really nice. So it's basically coming along. I don't think it's quite done yet. However much you want to hammer it down the side, we can definitely go more or a little less. This is, I think, a little less than complete for sure, but it's looking good. You can also check it from the side and see like a real like full hammer down definitely will give you more of like I know this is not a nice word, but a hump on the side, and it's very pretty. So this only has a little bit, but this is not quite even yet. So we're just going to work on evening it out a little bit, and then Alexis will decide whether she wants to really, you know, go for like full on hammer down or not. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so here's the next stage, getting this beautiful rounded edge around it, which I think looks absolutely gorgeous. Extreme close-up, not so extreme close-up. There you go. So Alexis's decision now is to go like full hammer down, or maybe not so much. I think we're probably not going to go truly full hammer down because the edge is looking awfully pretty and nice. So we'll do a little bit more and we'll see where Alexis ends. So you see now Alexis has this beautiful oval around her stone, and we could do more if we wanted a bigger ledge, but I think actually this looks absolutely fantastic. So we're going to just clean up the top with our Swifty wheel, which, you know, we don't have to worry about damaging our stone, which will just sort of spiff it up, shine it up a little bit, and then she'll be wearing this beautiful stone. So we're about to polish up Alexis's beautiful hammer down setting that she did here. So I thought I would take this opportunity to show you guys how to use a micro torque. Now, what the fuck is a micro torque? A micro torque is a slightly fancier flex shaft, and I'm going to show you the reason why I like it so much. This is a Marathon brand, and I've always had Marathons, and they're really nice. Now, the whole reason why these are better than a flex shaft is this. I turn it on, I set the speed high or low. You see that? Hardly any vibration. Although it comes with a foot pedal, you will probably throw it in the garbage, because the whole point of this is, instead of using the stupid foot pedal and trying to control the speed, and you know what it's like when you're using a flex shaft a lot of times. You feel like you're riding a bucking horse, you're like back and forth. Well, maybe that's just me. Maybe you guys are super great at it, but this is kind of like the next step up. If you're doing like carving in wax or anything like that, something like this is indispensable, because you just don't get all that like jerking and vibration and whatever. So it's really beautiful. And you just set it to the speed, because, you know, different jobs take different speeds. So with polishing, you usually want a relatively high speed, but different jobs require different settings, and you set it right here. I mean, you see what I'm saying? There's no kick or anything like that, like there is with the flex shaft when you step in on it and it kind of like roars into life. So this is one of these things that, like, nobody needs one of these, but they're not that much more expensive than a regular flex shaft. You know, maybe an extra, you know, $75, $100. So I have to say, if you're doing stuff like that and you're thinking about one, this thing is extremely sweet. So at any rate, now that you've heard my whole spiel on using a micro torque, now we're going to use the Swifty wheel to polish the beautiful top of her setting. So just like always, I'm going to rest my hands and my forearms nice and comfortably on the table. I'm going to put my thumb out to rest on the piece, because that way I'm really secure and comfortable. And I can just take this and just stroke along the top. Now, the important thing, of course, about a Swifty wheel is it won't scratch your stone. So you don't have to worry about like, oh no, help, help. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. Because I don't know about you, but everybody slips occasionally. That's just sort of life. So that's why I like using these wheels when I polish. And you see how I'm just picking a section and stroking it along. See? So I don't know if you can see that, if that angle is right, but it smooths out the edge, gets rid of all those, any little like lumps or bumps. And we're gonna go all the way around with this and just get everything really beautiful and evened out. Oh, and by the way, the Swifty leaves a high shine. Now, if there's any reason why you then don't want a high shine on the top, we can switch over to like a gray pumice wheel, which will smooth it out, but it isn't quite as shiny. I usually like shine on the top, but it gives you another option if maybe you want a little more of a matte finish. Okay, so I'm going to do a little more. Then I'm going to turn this over to Alexis to do the rest of the polishing. And then we'll show you what it looks like when it's all done, which is going to be sexy as fuck.